Welcome back. Okay, let's dive into this explainer where we crack the code on section 1.1, notoriously one of the most misunderstood areas of the Cambridge syllabus. Today, we're blending ancient warrior wisdom with modern exam strategy. Think of it like The Last Samurai, but for mastering your Cambridge papers. We're going to teach you how to slice through exam questions with absolute precision. If you are a student navigating this course, whether you're looking at 0417, 0478, 2210, 9618, or specifically the 9626 IT syllabus we are dissecting today, you already know that grasping the distinction between direct and indirect data uses sounds straightforward on paper, but in practice, in the exam hall, it is a massive stumbling block. Today, we are absolutely not just reviewing basic textbook definitions, we have actively decoded the actual principal examiner reports to see exactly what top-tier candidates do differently. We are going to transform this highly challenging topic from a roadblock into your ultimate strategic advantage.
Before we get into the heavy theory and the specific frameworks, I want to start with a massive relief straight from the examiners themselves. I want you to really listen to this quote. Even if your final answer is wrong, method marks can save you. Honestly, this is an absolute game changer. Examiners have issued alerts specifying that students needlessly lose marks every single year simply by not showing their working or their analytical process. Think of these method marks like a safety net in a trapeze act, or the perfect defensive stance of a samurai even when a strike misses its target. What this clearly tells us is that the examiners aren't just scanning the page for a correct final output, they're actively grading your process. They want to see your brain working on the page. By understanding how to properly structure your answers, which we are going to master today, you build that structural safety net that guarantees you pick up vital marks along the way, no matter what.
Today's explainer acts as your ultimate examiner's playbook. We are breaking down this dense syllabus section into 4 logical, highly actionable sections that will guide you directly to those top marks. First up, we'll unpack the data dilemma. Then, we'll move into the core theoretical principles you need to know. After that, we'll break down the technical methodology, the actual system you'll use to write your answers. And finally, we'll reveal those critical examiner warnings that completely separate the average scores from the elite top percentile. Let's get right to it. Let's start with our first section and address the main hurdle candidates face right out of the gate. I call this the data dilemma, and to explain it, I want to introduce you to 2 typical students we see all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Now, Alex is the kind of student who overloads every answer with raw memorized facts. Alex will give you the exact textbook definition of direct data, but includes absolutely zero analysis. On the other hand, we have Sam. Sam completely rushes the exam, desperately trying to beat the clock, and completely misses the command word requirements. Sam will describe when the question specifically asked to evaluate. Both of these approaches lead to flawed answers completely covered in red pen marks, despite both students actually studying hard. So why does this happen? It's crucial to ask ourselves why this specific section on direct and indirect data trips up so many otherwise incredibly prepared candidates every single year. Before we continue and unpack exactly how to fix this, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon right now. Okay, back to the dilemma. The truth is, interpreting complex texts and data isn't just about reading comprehension. It is entirely about context. When students encounter a scenario in the exam, they often rush, just like our friend Sam, to apply a rigid definition of direct or indirect data without pausing to analyze how that data is actually functioning within the specific scenario provided. It's literally like bringing a textbook to a street fight. Knowing the rigid definition simply does not help if you don't know how to apply it to the specific business scenario on the page. The dilemma isn't a lack of knowledge, it's a lack of targeted application. The secret to moving past that exact difficulty lies in shifting your mindset completely away from rote memorization and toward a connected, conceptual framework. That brings us to our second section, core theoretical principles.
Top-performing students build their foundational understanding on these 3 critical pillars, particularly by referencing connections to other syllabus areas. Notice the theoretical architecture required here. It's definitely not enough to just know what direct data is. You absolutely need precise definitions, yes, but you also need to establish causal relationships. You have to ask yourself, how does the source of this data directly impact its reliability in this specific scenario? Furthermore, the principal examiner reports highly emphasize cross-topic connections. Candidates who can brilliantly link the concepts of Section 1.1 to other areas of the syllabus, like database management or network security, achieve significantly higher marks because it proves to the examiner that they possess a holistic, transferable understanding of information technology.
This brilliantly illustrates the academic benchmark we need to hit. Examiners explicitly prioritize logical, structured reasoning, and analytical depth over just listing a wide breadth of shallow points. Examiners don't want you digging 20 shallow holes looking for marks. They reward digging one deep hole to find the real treasure. Imagine you're presented with a data source question, much like Alex would face. Writing down 5 vague bullet points about how data is collected, that is superficial breadth. Instead, the assessment framework heavily rewards candidates who provide 2 or 3 highly detailed points that deeply analyze the given scenario. It is always about the why and the how, not just listing a wide breadth of shallow whats. Showing analytical depth is your master key to unlocking those highest grade boundaries.
Now that we actually understand the theory and the mindset required, let's move to the actual procedural frameworks for actively extracting and interpreting data. This is Section 3, the technical methodology. This is where we start turning red pen marks into green check marks.
To successfully interpret data in this section, you must rigorously follow this methodology. But stop scrolling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, AC Exams, at acexams_IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. We've helped thousands of students improve by 2 to 3 grade boundaries. Join them right now by subscribing to @acexams_IGCSE and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly exam strategy sessions. All right, let's look at the 3 steps on screen. This perfectly mirrors the famous Peel framework: point, evidence, explanation, link. First, you extract. Don't just skim the complex data chart. Pull specific data points out from the texts and tables provided. That's your evidence. Second, interpret. How does Table A talk to Paragraph B? That is your explanation. Third, and absolutely most crucially, conclude. You can't just state an opinion here. Tether your conclusion directly back to the evidence you just extracted to answer the question. That is your link. This 3-step extraction system is exactly how you prove you're working and secure every single one of those method marks.
Now let's talk about presentation, because honestly, I think of formatting as free marks. You never want to lose easy marks on the presentation of your information. The syllabus is completely clear. Practical application develops professional skills. This means using proper headings to strategically structure your answers, deploying correct, authentic terminology rather than casual language, utilizing appropriate formats when constructing tables or lists, and providing totally clear annotations. Imagine we have a 60-second interactive challenge right now to find the flaw in a sample paragraph. The flaw is almost always that the student used vague, everyday words instead of precise technical terms, or they just wrote a giant, unreadable block of text. Examiners desperately want to see professional clarity. If your answer is brilliant but looks like a messy first draft, you are literally just leaving easy marks on the table. Always apply these strict conventions.
Let's transition to our final section and uncover the specific evaluation insights and traps that separate average answers from the elite. Welcome to Section 4, Critical Examiner Warnings.
The principal examiner reports have identified these 3 fatal errors that you must actively avoid. Think of this as our speed writing checklist. When you are rushing against the clock, these are the traps you fall into. Mistake number 1 is the classic context trap. You might give a perfectly valid textbook use of indirect data, but if it doesn't make sense for the specific business scenario described in the exam prompt, you score an absolute 0. The examiner does not care what you memorized, they care what you can apply. Mistake number 2 is forgetting those format and presentation checks we literally just covered. And mistake number 3 is writing non-specific answers. Again, generic copy-pasted definitions will absolutely not survive here. Your answer must live, breathe, and operate entirely within the specific context of the exam question.
Top-tier candidates demonstrate true evaluative thinking. This is where command word decoding comes into play. If the command word is evaluate, you need to explore different perspectives on the data and firmly justify your decisions with hard evidence. When examiners ask you to evaluate a data source, they want to see you actively questioning assumptions. You need to ask on the page, is this direct data actually as reliable as it initially seems? What might be the hidden biases in how this indirect data was originally collected? But remember, you can't just throw philosophical questions into the void. You have to perfectly balance that critical eye by weighing your final decisions with hard, extracted evidence from the text. It's like a highly structured debate, and the scales need to tip based entirely on facts, not just your assumptions.
This all builds to the ultimate task, comparative analysis. When asked to compare direct and indirect data uses, you must use this exact framework. Step 1. Identify both similarities and differences. So many students only list differences and immediately cap their maximum potential marks. Step 2. Use comparative connectives. Words like whereas, conversely, or similarly act as massive, glowing signposts for the examiner, explicitly showing that you are actively comparing, not just making two isolated lists. Finally, step 3. Draw conclusions on their relative importance. Students who implement these strategies see an average improvement of 2 full grade boundaries. But that only happens if you practice consistently with our weekly explainer sessions and strictly follow this comparative framework.
Remember, mastering this procedural approach is your ultimate safety net. It takes all the guesswork out of the exam. Here's your final reminder. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at Ace the Exams IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Subscribe right now to at Ace the Exams IGCSE and click that bell. Don't let another exam pass you by. I want to leave you with a question. How are you going to apply this exact framework to your next practice paper? Drop a comment below with your target grade for computer science or IT, and let me know the biggest challenge you're currently facing. Our team reads and responds to every single comment. Like and share this video with a study partner right now. Ace the Exams. Your Cambridge success starts here. Keep practicing those past papers, and I will see you in the next one.